very long time, and I've been able to still help the community as a military veteran. And our session today again is to help other trailblazers looking to find better ways to network. And our sessions are really open to everybody, although it originally started as a military support focus. We have moved on to open the channels to help others that are seeking to better network and to connect with folks that are working on career paths and such. And so we have a packed house today. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I will begin with introductions in just a moment. Like I said, we had a little bit of technical issues, so I don't have my script in front of me, so I'm going off the cuff. So we have a great group of folks joining us today, and our discussion for tonight will be about how to network when you're an introvert. Now, people might think that if you're an introvert, you might have some challenges networking. Well, I'm an extrovert, and I still have challenges with networking. So it's just a matter of perspective. And we have some folks today. I'm going to go pass on the mic to our guests who are going to be participating. And if you don't mind introducing yourselves and just let us know where you are and your title, and where and then we'll continue with the session.
And Elliot, while they're kicking that off, I am happy to post the questions in the thread for this meeting if you can't access the script, so that you can have that. Would that be helpful, or should I post it in LinkedIn for you? Which is easier?
Yeah, you can post it on LinkedIn if you don't mind.
Awesome, I'll do that. So Lisa is the brainchild behind this episode. Lisa, do you want to start us off with the intros while I pass those questions to Elio?
Sure. You know, that's like the scariest question to an introvert, right? Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Malmanger. I'm a senior solution architect at BoozAllen, and I currently reside in the Austin, Texas area. And I've been in Salesforce since 2011, and I am an Army veteran.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll go next. My name is Marcus Dietz. I'm a principal focusing in technical architecture for Salesforce at BoozAllen. Been in the Salesforce ecosystem since 2010, and a lot of experience with DevOps and government cloud, financial services, and a whole bunch of other fun products.
Thank you, Marcus.
Hi there, I'm Ada Van Hecke. I have been working in the Salesforce space for a little over 10 years, and primarily focused in healthcare initiatives. And currently I am a release manager for BoozAllen. And I live a little above Baltimore.
Hello, I am McDonald, a lead quality assurance specialist. I've been in Salesforce a little over 3 years at BoozAllen, and I'm in corporate quota.
I think that's me. It's JP Seabury. I've been doing Salesforce things since 2016. I got started in a little tiny startup company, just a handful of users, and have just been climbing and rocking ever since. Now I'm with BoozAllen playing in the giant VA org, which is super fun.
Fantastic.
Okay, I think I'm last, and I also may be the most junior one out of the panel here. I joined BoozAllen about 1.5 years ago, and I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for, well, a little over that, about 2 years. And currently, I am a technologist, so I've had a few roles, solution engineering being, one that I did the most of. And I am in Northern Virginia.
Fantastic. And again, thank you, everybody. If I miss somebody, please raise your hand, let me know. Like I mentioned, I am the extrovert. So let me just share a little bit about our group. So for those of you that are joining for the first time, we always like to briefly explain the purpose of our office hours. So before we open it up to the floor for some questions and discussions. And so these sessions are an informal get together for gathering with military trailblazers and allies to explore non-technical Salesforce career and branding related topics to help you achieve your professional development and career related goals. So please keep that in mind. This is an open forum. If you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. If you don't feel like turning on your mic, you can always type your question in the chat window. We will try to get to your questions and try to get our panel today to answer those. So for the next hour, again, this is intended to be an opportunity for us to collaborate and to mentor. Everyone in the call is encouraged to step up. Again, we'll get some help from some folks to help us out, keep track of the chat window. Also, we encourage people to help answer questions from your perspective. Everybody has a unique perspective. And what's really fantastic about our group here is that we have quite a diverse group, and we always welcome everybody's feedback. Again, keep an eye out for the chat window. We will try to post some helpful links there. And others in the call who want to share information. This is our time together. So again, thank you very much for joining. If you'd like to ask a question during the session today, please feel free to hit that little button for questions to the panel. If you feel that you want to ask a question, but you don't want to be recorded, it's all good. We call it an attribution-free comment. Please let us know. We will go ahead and remove you and your question from the recording. So we want to make sure that you feel very comfortable in asking questions with our group tonight. So with that said, I am literally grabbing notes from a chat window as David is on the road and I don't have my questions here, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries, Elliot. I passed all those to you in LinkedIn, so you should see those. And folks, I will be posting the comments in chat to give Elliot some bandwidth for framing all the questions. The show must go on, so we're pushing through these technical difficulties. We're excited for this session.
Yeah, thank you very much. And what does it mean to be an introvert? You know, most of us understand on a fundamental level differences between introverts and extroverts. But from time to time, we don't know where it ends. And as I have been working on growing my career and building a better understanding of how to be an effective leader, I've learned to have more compassion and empathy for those who are not like me. And this is something that, you know, sometimes it's tough to understand and to know, am I in this group or am I in that group? So I'm hoping that with the next few questions, we can better paint the picture and give everyone a more informed understanding of what, you know, of that unique world for those of us that are trying to be more understanding and helping those that, you know, sometimes have difficulty speaking up. So open up the mic. I would love for each of you to define what it means to you personally to be an introvert. And I'll open it up. I'll just call out some folks. So JP, I'm going to just reach out to you. Sorry, I don't mean to pick on you. I just saw your name right in front of me.
Oh no, you make the introvert go first. Oh wait,
yeah,
introverts.
Yay. So could you lead us in that discussion?
Yeah,
what does that mean to you?
You know, we had a powwow earlier this week to kind of prep for this, and someone mentioned JP, an introvert. What's he doing up there? He should be talking up there. He's not one, which was super flattering, right? Because it means that I have succeeded in hiding my true inner self, right? But I think people from past careers are probably, yeah, right. That guy, he never, you know, stood in the back, looked across the room. absorb things silently in the background, but it was hard pulling things out of him. So, I think it's that introvert, the classic introvert is someone who is kind of, watching, observing, trying to absorb as much as they can from the scenery around them, and trying not to get super exhausted through that whole experience.
Great. Thank you so much for that insight. And again, I'm just going to call out some folks. So, Lisa.
Okay, my turn. Let's see. For me, being an introvert is someone that's not big on big social occasions, which is ironic since I'm going to Salesforce, Dreamforce next week. One area that will get me out of my comfort zone in a big setting is a music concert. So I'm looking forward to Foo Fighters, obviously. I'll be in the front somewhere. Yeah, as an introvert, I tend to avoid the bigger events because I feel overwhelmed. There's so much going on. Who do I talk to? The first thing I do is I try to look in the crowd to see if there's somebody I recognize, to at least, go talk to them. I always try to bring an extrovert buddy with me because they're the ones that help me open up more and talk. Another thing is an introvert. I think personally, I'm sure all of us can probably agree as introverts that we don't really like jumping into the middle of conversations. We like to listen and hear what's going on. Like for me, I'm perfectly happy listening on a meeting on other people talking. Now, when they call on me, that's when I completely lose it because I haven't had a chance to prep anything. I like to be prepared before I talk. So as introverts, we're always actively listening before we speak, which is one of the unique qualities too of us introverts.
Fantastic. Marcus?
What does it mean to be an introvert? Definitely dreading public speaking events, especially in person. Those are probably the worst thing in the world, and I hate that so much, even though I try to do it to get better. And also just sort of getting fatigued from having a lot of interactions throughout the day. I had a lot of meetings today. A lot were on video, so after this, I'll probably take a walk outside and just be by myself for a little bit. That's my take.
Right on. Thank you. Samantha? And you're muted.
Hi, I had issues finding my mute button. Yeah, so everything everyone, had mentioned, I completely wholeheartedly agree with. And one that I would add to that is I just do not like to draw attention to myself really ever. So that would be something, that I don't like to, call anything out and draw any kind of, like I said, attention to myself. But yeah, everything everyone else said is on the spot.
Got it. Thank you very much. And Ada? And you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Unlike, or in contrast to Lisa's description, with large events, I actually don't mind them quite as much because I can fade into the background very easily and everybody else can be very focused on the people around them. And so I actually find it very easy to isolate in a large crowd like at Dreamforce. And I have to push myself to be more out there in those situations. And, my relationships really thrive in one-to-one communications with people and building that networking through individual communications versus in a large group. I tend to connect much more easily one-to-one.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer?
I think Ada's mic is echoing. All right, perfect. So to me, being an introvert means that you're kind of more comfortable with the silence than others. So a lot of people get uncomfortable with pauses, and awkward, pauses of time. And so I think it's being comfortable with the silence. I think it's also, you may be able to function and even be successful in a large setting, but you definitely prefer the smaller and solo ones. Like Marcus said, I will probably also be by myself tonight. And then I also, just my last one is personally, I think I found that introverts tend to watch and listen more, and while extroverts are they're more talkative, they more want to take action immediately, while introverts tend to kind of hold back and get all the details first.
Got it. And thank you everybody for great insights. And so as we're talking about networking here, how do you apply those qualities, or how do introverts apply the qualities in the Salesforce ecosystem, and how can they, or yourselves, or all of us who find ourselves in that regard, can capitalize on the strengths of being an introvert, somebody who can keep quiet, right, and take action over speaking up and chatting with other folks. I always find this a great learning experience. So I would love to get your take, and we can come back to you. We'll start back with you, Jennifer, if that's okay. To help others understand, the uniqueness and the strengths of an introvert in the Salesforce ecosystem.
You said me, right? Sorry.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. What do unique qualities do they bring to the ecosystem? I think it's a lot related to what I said previously as well. A lot of the times with tech and Salesforce, things need to move really fast because, it's broken, whatever. The customer wants it like yesterday. So like I said, extroverts, they tend to kind of jump on it and say, yes, we can push it through right now, no problem. While the introverts are like, wait, hang on, there's a lot of other dependencies, things going on. Let me just take a moment and think about it. Whereas others might be more inclined to just push the button. So patience, I would say.
Great. Fantastic. Samantha, I'll come back to you on that question.
Hey, so this has to do with networking and how to, I actually find it a little difficult myself, trying to come out of my shell a little bit to, really reach out and, find the people that I, can connect with, or, I can relate to. So it does take a lot. It takes a lot for me to, reach out and make those introductions, because that's the last thing I want to do in any kind of networking situation. But the thing that helps me the most is I always count on and remember that the Salesforce ecosystem is a very friendly place, and, everyone's willing to help. So that really helps me, come out of my shell and, not be afraid to ask for help, or ask for, to make some kind of connection when I need it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And let me ask the same question to Lisa. I think I missed you before.
Oh, no worries. So you're looking for networking, right? How to network.
What type of strengths do introverts bring to the networking environment of the Salesforce ecosystem?
Oh, they bring a lot. They bring active listening, because introverts are great listeners, because that's what they prefer to do. They want to understand what's going on, what's being said. They also, I think they network strategically, and that means they're focusing on more deeper, meaningful conversations, and rather than trying to be the life of a party. And I found the best way to network as an introvert, I wish I had the meme available, I would put it on there. But there's a meme out there where it's from the Wednesday show, where one side is Wednesday's friend, which is smiling, and then the other side is the offline personality, which is Wednesday, and that's how I feel I am. So my online personality, I have no problem chatting and communicating on LinkedIn or Twitter, things like that. But if you get me in a room with people I don't know, I'll be in the corner somewhere by myself until somebody comes up to me. I'm not good at small talk. I don't really know how to do it, to be honest. Unless I'm at some convention where it's a bunch of gamers, then I have no problem talking to random strangers. Another thing about introverts, we're continuously learning. We're trying to develop our skills and knowledge just by putting ourselves out of our comfort zone. So that's why I, put my name in for speaking events, things like that, because public speaking is difficult, like Marcus said, especially in front of people. I've even gotten to the point where I've almost gotten physically sick before presenting in front of people because I get so worked up. I'm more concerned about how I look, how I'm going to do, rather than everybody else doesn't care. They're more concerned with the content.
Yeah, I actually did some studying in a leadership program that I was at Salesforce with regards to understanding the room and some of the skills that I've actually picked up from introverts. I'm not one, but I trying to be part of one. It is that it's the focused energy and the focused experience that you're trying to gain in the networking world, right? Anybody who is an extrovert can go and just chat to everybody in the room, but what is the ultimate goal? And so I personally have learned, if you're an introvert in this call, I personally have learned and taken notes from introverts about focusing your energy and being more strategic. I think you hit a really good point there. So thank you for sharing that. Continuing with the discussion and some of the comments I just made is how can introverts capitalize under analytical thinking and thorough research abilities to bring in a unique perspective to the table? JP, let me throw that back at you.
And we do have a hand raised from Carrie Elliott.
Oh, fantastic. So let's have JP first, and then we'll come to you,
Okay,
Carrie.
good.
Ask the question again, please.
Yeah, how can introverts capitalize under analytical thinking, their thorough research abilities to bring their unique perspectives to the table?
Well, certainly those are the skill sets that every project team is going to need, right? They're going to look for someone who has that ability to dive deep into the analytical elements of the project. So it's because it's a place that we feel naturally drawn to, right? Because it's a place where people don't necessarily need to communicate a lot, right? Until you get to the end and you have to summarize and share your results, right? The work is the easy part. It's the stuff that you love. So I think it's just a matter of it's almost naturally selecting for us, right? We glom towards the things that that match our skill set, we're interested in doing, and we're well suited for. So it's the way for the introvert to kind of hand raise and grab stuff from the team. Yep, this one's mine. I got this. I'll run with this one game.
Got it. Thank you. Carrie, we're coming to you.
Thank you. And this was kind of goes back to what Lisa said a minute ago. She's talking about those settings where you're in a large room and you're kind of off and you're essentially not necessarily waiting, but when somebody else brings you in, then you may feel more comfortable. And my question is not necessarily in those types of settings, but even on projects, how have other team members really encouraged you and supported you in being introverted to continue to contribute? So do any of you guys have any things that other people can do to help support you in a team to make sure that your thoughts and ideas are also being heard?
And I guess that's open to our panel. That question?
Hi, this is Ada. I had a really great mentor in the beginning of my Salesforce journey that really helped me by understanding how to pull me out of my comfort zone a little bit and engage me in conference calls with the customers and in these, big meetings with big scary people, and to feel confident and give me the little boost that I needed in my self-confidence to think that I could my thoughts were relevant and worth all of that conversation, and that my what I had to offer in the conversation was actually important to the conversation and needed to be said, and that she needed me to do that, to engage. So she also worked with me with some different ways where we could communicate sort of behind the scenes in some of those conversations to make sure that, to help guide me along as I was learning how to speak in front of my customers and communicate effectively to them.
Great, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I saw a question on the chat where Mackenzie's asking, how do you tell your teammates that you need their support from them as you're working through your challenges of? Or Mackenzie, do you want me to turn on the mic and let you ask the question?
Hey, yeah, I fall into the introvert spectrum, I think. And I don't know that I've necessarily made it known to my teammates that I am an introvert and that I have these issues. So I was just wondering how you would communicate that.
I can kind of chime in on that one. Mackenzie, I, am in the same shoes, obviously, have a hard time sometimes, reaching out for help because, I want to be able to do it and I want to be able to show people and myself that I can do it on my own. But, a lot of times it's up to your team to really, set aside some time to talk about, maybe a team agreement. Sometimes we have team agreements where we, talk a little bit about, this is how I like to work. I need a little more space, or I prefer to collaborate in a group all the time. And so, we can take some time to address those needs in your workplace so that, if you tell your team, hey, listen, I work a lot better if you give me more space, and they'll hear that and hopefully respect that and, give you that room. And also the more you communicate, the more you, discuss these needs, it'll be easier for you to reach out when you're stuck on something and you do need to reach out and get some help. So it's kind of all within the team dynamic there for us.
Awesome question, and great conversation here. So building confidence, we don't shy away from uncomfortable conversations. It sounds like from a community. So and again, I apologize for some of these blips here. My screen comes and goes. It must be that week. It must be Dreamforce week next week. Everybody's getting ready to pack up. Anyways, bringing the same question and also reaching out. When we talk about networking, we talk about being able to find people that can help promote your brand within a company or outside. How do introverts tackle this? So I'm going to go to Marcus and ask you this question. I know you said you've been in this field for a while, and how have you grown your network within your current role, as you mentioned in your intro that you've been there for a while?
Yeah, great question. I've come a really, really long way from where I started. Definitely started off as someone, working alone in their cubicle, not really talking to a lot of other people. And I've had the opportunity to kind of make this transition and become more and more, I guess, outgoing in the professional setting than I had been. And so it was a journey. It certainly didn't happen overnight. So I don't have any, 3-step advice to give you to become an introvert or extrovert by tomorrow, unfortunately. But one thing that really worked for me, and JP touched on this, was focusing on those certain things where you really feel comfortable. So for me, it was going deep into the technical architecture. So I was really the technical SME when it came to Salesforce architecture. So I wasn't going to speak about Marketing Cloud and I let other people talk about business process flows and functional aspects of the system, even though I knew that well, because I knew that technical architecture was my thing and I knew it so well. So I had the confidence to actually talk about it. And I started off being able to present to sort of like small groups of IT stakeholders, and then over time, business stakeholders, and over time, many more people. So it was really, really a long journey. And the other thing is just putting yourself out there in uncomfortable situations. So doing public speaking events, as horrible as they are at the time, you look back on them after the fact and say, wow, I feel really accomplished and I'm glad I did that. And I'm a better professional for it.
Got it. Thank you, Marcus. And I'm going to ask this question in general to the panel. Think about your success stories. So we would love to hear something like what Marcus just mentioned, right? What could you share from your personal experience where you took an introverted approach to networking that led to either a professional connection or it opened an opportunity for you?
I'll jump. Mine was not an introverted approach. It was intentionally an extroverted approach. When I was at this tiny little 200 employee startup company doing Salesforce and learning it for the first time, my Salesforce AE reached out to me and said, hey, you're pretty far from the nearest user group. It's like an hour away. Why don't you start one in your local community? So I started Salesforce New Hampshire user group. Just that, right? Being the person kind of pulling other people in, extroverts and introverts, just a crowd of people into a session where we just talk and jam about our challenges, our problems, put me in an uncomfortable place, right? Like, I'm organizing, I'm pulling people in, I'm the one who's bringing them to the conversation table. And very often the one who's expected to then drive the conversations. Sometimes it felt like it became consulting hour, right? But it quickly turned into a great opportunity to meet other, admins, local people, local groups that were doing it, local people with local interests who are also the only admin in the organization. And now you have these shared bond connections, right? That you just keep on building and growing as you continue to, grow up through, reach out to your first Dreamforce, you see those same folks out there and you're like, that was a great thing to do. I'm glad I did that, even though I was intensely uncomfortable at the start of it.
Awesome. Thank you for that, JP. Ada?
There. So I mentioned earlier, I do better with one-on-one communicating with people. And at Dreamforce one year, when I was my very first Dreamforce that I went to, I set up a time to meet with my AE from Salesforce. I always do better with somebody I already know, right? So I've already got this pseudo relationship going with this person that I've talked over the phone with a bunch of times. I met with them, talked about all the issues and troubles that I was having trying to get Salesforce to work for me, because I was just learning Salesforce and tasked with making magic happen as the only Salesforce person for a company. And it ended up being a fabulous encounter. And we started using record triggered flows when they were first out in beta. And it saved the day for me. It made it so that I could actually do what I needed to do, because I do not write code to make Salesforce work for me and for my company and our needs early on. And if I had not pushed myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone to meet with somebody in person, that wouldn't have happened. But it made it so much easier for me that I already had a relationship to some degree with that person, that I had talked with them and communicated with them before, so that I didn't spend the entire event isolating from everyone, but furthering the contacts that I already had and the relationships that I already had to build them into something more, so that I could call back on them when I needed them and really tap them for the knowledge that they had that I didn't.
Got it. Thank you very much. So let me pause for a sec. We're a little bit past the bottom of the hour, and what we like to do is take a picture of the group and post it. Again, our goal is to help branding and networking. So if you're interested, please go ahead and turn on your camera. We'll give you a minute or two while you're doing that. So what we like to do is take a screenshot, post it in different channels. That will help a lot of folks, understand of our program. And today, incredible attendance. So really appreciate everybody coming in today. Dave, I don't have that little app anymore to take the photos. I don't have my old Salesforce
No
laptop
worries.
anymore.
I can totally do it for you. I'm home now. So I will I'll give you the count of 3 here. And let's go ahead and hold on the comments because they do cover my face. So that way I can be in the photo too. Although maybe that's why you're doing it. All right, count of 3. Let's see. 1 second. There we go. Okay, getting my tools ready. 3, 2, 1. Awesome.
All right. Thank you for that. Great discussion. I was looking at, I think we had Raymond is brand new to the Ohana. So number one, welcome to you, Raymond, and everybody else who's calling in for the first time. I'm trying to see if there's a question in there. And yeah, he's talking about some of the tools that are available for folks to try to work through their introvert stage where they might not be able to get in front of folks. He's talking about Toastmasters. I actually did Toastmasters for several years when I first started in my career, and that helped me to break out of my little quiet mold into what I am today. Also, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and that helped a lot for me to come out of my shell. Anyways, let's follow up on that. What tools can introverts take advantage of, as they're presenting themselves in the networking environment, whether it's through social media? I know that I've heard from some of the people that I actually follow in YouTube that are career coaches, and through connecting with them via email, they tell me they're introverts. And I'm like, how can you have like 1,000 videos on YouTube, but you're an introvert? Apparently you can't. So, but that's a great example. So I wanted to open that question to the panel of what tools like YouTube or social media have you used that are memorable for you to leave a presence, an online presence of what skill sets you have, or the talent that you bring in a career perspective, despite you being, whether you are either an introvert or, otherwise?
I think COVID helped a lot, right? Particularly with the pushing of people out of offices, out of environments where they have to be face to face. It certainly helped me when everyone I was talking to was on the other side of a camera, the other side of a monitor screen. And like even people have commented, JP, when you're on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, you're like always like looking right at me, right? And it's because this Asperger's aspect of my personality doesn't want to make eye contact with people. So I'm not looking at anybody on the screen or any nodding heads. I'm vaguely aware that they're there, but peripherally, I'm just looking straight at the camera. And even during my Teams meetings, right? That's my fallback. I don't have to see you. I'm looking right at the camera, and it looks like I'm looking right at you. And how awesome is that? So that people are going back to the office now. That makes it a little bit harder, right? So I don't think I can help you if you're going back to the office. But another aspect that I lean on a lot is role play or acting, right? I've been role playing with the same high school crew for the past 40 plus years, right? And that acting of, okay, in this encounter, in this scenario, I'm going to be an extrovert, or I'm going to be someone who isn't awkward, or I'm going to be someone who's confident about this material, right? It's just that flip of the switch, right? That you shift into a different personality. My biggest challenge sometimes is turning that personality off. And I think that's where sometimes my colleagues are saying, JP's not an introvert. He just keeps on talking and talking and talking, right? And but that's my tool right there, is right the shift into acting mode to turn it into a different role or persona.
Thank you very much for that insight. Samantha?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have ever posted a YouTube video. I may not be able to contribute to that, but I will agree though, having the, ability to work from home, or coming to these discussions, right, from the comfort of my home and being behind a camera is a godsend. I don't think I can, go in person to a panel and behave in the same manner. So
I hear you. I've been a remote employee for going on 13 years, so I don't think people want me in the office. Marcus, any thoughts on that question? Any tools? Any?
One, I guess a lot of it's personal preference. I just looked at my my professional Twitter that's public, and my last post was in October of 2014. So I'm not really active in that social media site any longer. But I use LinkedIn a lot. I find that it's a good way to keep in touch with former colleagues. It's a good way to sort of establish a brand, for lack of a better term, and engage with people professionally and have them understand what your area of expertise is and what you're interested in. And so I've found that very helpful. I'm not really active on other tools. I'm definitely not making YouTube videos. I would hate that very much. But I know the question was about like tools and technology, but another piece of feedback I have is to just get involved in your community events. That was another avenue that really helped me out in my career. Going to local Trailblazer meetup groups, Salesforce developer meetup groups. Those are oftentimes smaller settings where you can have like one-on-one conversations with other people, and you can establish some really good relationships. And those meetings are the reason I work where I work today, because I established some great relationships with people and I kept in touch.
Great. Yeah, there's definitely I guess like daily practices and you just mentioned activities, and I would like to get Lisa's point of view on that are tips that can help introverts embrace some of these leadership roles. When I was at Salesforce, this is a company that close to 75,000 employees, and there was a lot of my leadership there that were mentoring me. In 10 years, I had, I think it was 18 managers or something ridiculous. Half of them were introverts. So you don't have to be an extrovert to be a leader. And I would love to get your take on that, Lisa, on what are some of the, daily practices or tips that you can give introverts to embrace some of the roles that you would think are only available to people that are extroverts.
Sure. I will do the best I can, and hopefully somebody else can chime in. So for me, the biggest thing is to step out of my comfort zone. And I think that has been said by everybody on this panel. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. I volunteer for things quite often because that is how I get out of my comfort zone. Hey, you want to present to, our leadership, our architecture review? I like to do that because it puts me out of my comfort zone. I practice my presentation skills, and it just helps me as an individual and a leader. And then that way I can help others that follow. Communication is key. If you don't tell people what you're struggling with, they do not know. So you have to be willing to tell your leadership or a team member, hey, I'm really struggling with presentations. What can I do to practice that? And that's where your leader, will support you and give you something to help. Maybe it's just a small team presentation, not a whole company presentation or a big one, but something maybe on your Scrum team. Hey, present your user story. And that's something that we do at our company. I lead a weekly solution architect, solution engineer group for our project. And I ask the solution engineers to present what they worked on for the week. One, that shows them what they worked on. They have a chance to present and show what they did, and it gives everybody else a chance to ask questions. So it's good all around. Another thing I like to do is before meetings, obviously get the agenda if it's not like a standard daily Scrum meeting. So that way I can identify questions that maybe I want to bring up to the meeting, because if an introvert knows what the meeting's about and they have time to prepare, they're more likely to speak up. Or maybe even, since everything's virtual, they don't have to, raise their hand or say anything. They can chat in the window. They can raise their hand if they're ready to talk. They can ask their coworker, hey, I want to speak on this. Can you kick it over to me so that way I can speak to it? Some people just don't like to just jump into a call. They want somebody to ask them to speak. So that's where the virtual meetings come in handy for an introvert, because we got the chat, we got the little emojis. Yeah, you have to embrace the challenges. Otherwise, it's hard to improve if you're not coming out of your comfort zone regularly. It's a everyday work in progress for introverts.
Hey, Ellie, I'd love to piggyback on that. And then we have a question from Amanda in the chat. So I'm an introvert, and I love Ada's comment that, if you're always comfortable, you limit your growth significantly. I created, helped to create this community and a YouTube channel because I couldn't imagine doing it. It was really hard. And so I did definitely identify with pushing yourself, because if you don't ever challenge yourself to not be uncomfortable in those situations, you always will be. One of the things that I love to use, and this kind of piggybacks on Lisa's comment, is I will script 90% of what I say if it's a virtual meeting. So a good point is the AI meeting that I went to today, where I was on a panel and everything I said was scripted. And I will read it, so to give the impression that it's not scripted, I'll put artificial pauses in and I'll say ums and ahs, even though they're not really in the script, because I don't want folks to know that it's all scripted. But that helps me, if I know what I'm going to say, I know exactly what I'm going to say, that helps me feel comfortable, and I can calm down and I can actually talk at a normal speed. Otherwise, I'm super fast. Obviously, that doesn't help you if you're in person, right? But it can. I think if you sit down with yourself before you go to, let's say, like a Dreamforce, and you're going to attend, this session, that meeting, this meeting, write yourself an agenda. What do you want to accomplish during this meeting? What do you want to accomplish with that conversation? Come up with some points, and then read them through, and so that you have a game plan when you go into these uncomfortable situations, that if you get nervous, you can fall back on that and you won't stand around awkwardly. So those are just some of the tips that have helped me. But I'll turn it back over to you, Ellie. We've got a question from Amanda, and Iris has got her hand raised as well.
So I'm sorry. I'm the extrovert. I'm like, so you could probably tell the difference, right? David is very calm and collective in his response and in his questions. He plans for everything. I'm an extrovert. I don't. I kind of run off the cuff. You could probably tell the difference there. He's more polished. He is more focused on leadership. In my training over the last few years, I have focused on doing more of what David does. So I want you to see that you don't necessarily have to be a certain way or another. You can learn from and grow yourself from where you want to go without having the need to have the imposter syndrome, right? And Amanda, I know you've come on the camera. Did you have a follow-up to your question, or did we cover that as best as we could? And you're on mute if you want to.
Hi. Sorry, I don't think you covered the question yet. I had like a little paragraph that I wrote. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Okay.
So Amanda is asking about for the panel from BoozAllen, right? And her question is about the environment of the company of BoozAllen, and how does that work? Do they help you as an introvert? Is it an environment and culture that really works for you? She really wants to understand what that's all about.
I'll jump. So new to BoozAllen, right? Started in November 22. I think coming in, you don't really know. It's hard, right? You don't know what the culture of the company is going to be like. You have a general sense of who's there and people that you respect and have had conversations with, but it's hard to figure out what, from that outside, from those first interview experiences. That said, having landed, it is a fantastic environment for an introvert, right? We are largely remote, almost exclusively remote. There are a lot of teams that still go into the office because there's the option for them. They're local to their office, and they favor that, right? But it's a tremendous opportunity for people who want to be on this side of the camera from their home. At the same time, it's very challenging, right? We have a very challenging clients, spectrum of clients. So, but what makes it super helpful, I think, is just having such a really solid team of colleagues and peers to lean on, right? Just everything from how active we are in our Slack communication channels or teams, right? Everyone's quick to help, and it's very easy to ask those questions. Introverts hate asking questions. We hate asking for help. But when you see people doing it and getting quick, easy responses and it being relatively painless, not relatively, entirely painless, right? It pulls you in. It wants you to ask questions and get feedback as well. So I found it to be an excellent environment for an introvert. And I clearly fooled them because I don't think I'm an introvert. So hooray.
Awesome. Thank you for that, JP. I think Ada had some input in there as well.
Hi there. Yeah, before coming to BoozAllen, I had really only worked for very small companies, and I really thought that was what I wanted. I was not sure that I wanted to work for a big giant company. That I would sort of get maybe lost in the numbers or whatever. Just had never experienced it before. And I thought, well, I have nothing to base all of this on other than cartoons and what they say big giant companies are like. So I better just, take a chance and do it. And I have been so stunned and pleased with how it has been. I would have thought that, that it would be really hard to make more connections, especially remotely with people, because I do, like to work in a small group of people versus a large one. But I found that it works really well, and creating, your own little networking inside of the groups of people that you work with really helps. Making friends. I'm not one to make friends, but it's so much easier to ask somebody for help when it's not this formal interaction where you're going and soliciting someone for help. It's like, hey, do you have a minute? I'm struggling with this. Maybe you could, hop on screen share real quick and we could work through it. And so it's really helped me. And I have, passed that on to some of the other release leads that I work with. We have a small group of us that has grown and grown, and they, as new ones have joined on, and now they make friends and they can help each other. And I really find that we've built our own little community where we can ask for help and not feel so much anxiety around asking for help. And the informality of a lot of the interactions really helps that as well. And I think Salesforce in general, like the culture is very laid back in a way, right? It's still a big, powerful business. There's a lot of formality way up at the top probably, but down here, it's much more relaxed. We have people in big giant costumes running around Dreamforce. It's like living in cartoons sometimes, even though you have to have the real world in there too. But it does help to sort of break that tension and that ice a little bit and make you relax enough to engage people. And BoozAllen has a great culture, at least from my experience so far in the last year and a half, year and something that we've been there. And it's been great.
Awesome.
We've
Thank
got
you,
a hand
Ada.
raised from Iris Elliott.
Yep. I was just about to go to Iris, and now she's been waiting patiently. Thank you, Iris, for your patience. Feel Feel free to ask your question.
Thank you so much. And I was saying, it's lovely to see you back on the mic, Leo. It's lovely.
Thank
It's a little
you.
treat. And thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for this awesome conversation where, especially when people are new in the ecosystem, you see a lot of conversations about doing your brand and doing this and showing successful Salesforce professionals who are also introverts, I think is missed sometimes. So fantastic conversation. But going towards that point, when you are new in the ecosystem and you are nervous about asking that question, even if you're lucky enough to get that foot in the door, what tips do you have on dealing with that introversy? And, you know, like there's some introverts who behave like an extrovert to juggle that, and there's some extroverts who have introverts tendencies to juggle that nervousness and that imposter syndrome. What tips do you have when you are so new you don't even know where to start, kind of thing?
Panel, anybody want to tackle it?
I'll jump. See, this is why they don't think I'm an introvert. I'll jump on it. I'll jump on that one too. For me, right, coming into a brand new company, new colleagues, new team members, from day one, it was a mindset that I'm going to begin as I intend to continue, right? How I start is how I want this team to see me, experience me. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to launch out of my comfort zone right from the get-go. And you know, it ties into that role play piece, right? That acting piece. I am not shy. I am not introvert. I'm not going to be standing in the back of the wall like a wallflower. I'm going to be out there on the dance floor with all my teammates. So it was a conscious effort up front. And once I did that, right, it just became easier. It became known as JP will come off mic. He's going to say something. It's still a daily reminder, right? Begin as you intend to continue, keep that going, keep that momentum going. It's still a struggle, right? And it's still exhausting at the end of the day, but you just keep going on. That was mine.
Awesome. Panel, Marcus, Lisa, Samantha, any thoughts?
Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. So joining events like this and speaking up is a step in the right direction. And like I said before, there's no panacea. It's, you know, a little bit of progress here and there. And yeah, I mean, before you know it, you'll have, you know, over a decade of experience, and you'll be in a leadership role, and you'll look back and say, how did that even happen?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to throw one last question, and I think this is a really important question. So I'm going to see if I can ask this as fast as possible. And this goes for everybody, that whether, you know, you're extrovert or introvert, there is this thing called burnout, and there's too much information in the day and age that we live in. As we're networking, what final or parting words of wisdom can you give all of us on how to find those retrospective practices at the end of the day? You know, can you share any of those strategies that can help, you know, introverts in general avoid burnout as they navigate through this ecosystem?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, from my perspective, you know, burnouts happen to me only because, you know, again, it's hard for us to ask for help. And, you know, being new in the ecosystem, new at your job, you want to have that can-do attitude. You want to say yes to everything, but you can't take on too much. So my advice would be, you know, really try to keep an open channel with your team lead. And when that moment, you know, of stress, like when you start to feel the burnout and you may not recognize it, but if you're talking to your leads, they may be able to help you recognize it. That's how I got help is, you know, when my team leader or my career manager noticed that this is not right, something's not right with you during a conversation, you know, they really stepped in and helped me find that balance, you know, between work and home life.
Great, great. Thank you for that. And again, I want to thank everybody, the panel, Ada, Samantha, Marcus, Lisa, JP. Thank you so much for your insights. It's great to see you again, and great to see David and everybody in the community. For those of you that are new, welcome. I am also on LinkedIn. If you want to send me an invite, I read a lot of books. Never thought I would read books, but I do now. Post master's degree, you think you wouldn't be reading. Anyways, but I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day, your busy day, to have a chance to have a pause and a discussion and a great important set of tips and tools that I know I'm taking in my back pocket. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
And thank you, Elio.
You're welcome, David.